Welcome to Value Vest Daily. We're diving into a topic that feels like it's been ripped straight from a modern techno thriller. We're talking about the rise of what we're calling the sovereign drone wars.
See, in a world where geopolitical tensions are just constantly ratcheting up, nations are in this frantic race to build their own independent drone arsenals. And this isn't just about military power. Not at all. It's about national security, it's about controlling your own supply chains, and it's a fundamental shift in how countries protect their most critical assets. This massive change is creating a truly recession-proof investment theme. And that brings us right to the heart of today's deep dive, a company called Ondas Holdings, ticker ONDS, and its potential to completely dominate this new era of the Iron Drone. So could this be a 10x opportunity hiding in plain sight?
To figure that out, here's how we're going to break it all down. First, we'll set the stage. We'll talk about these new drone wars. Then, we're going to do a real deep dive into Ondas itself, what they actually do, and how they've totally transformed their business. After that, we'll follow the money, looking at their financial momentum, before building the case for a potential 10x return. And finally, you know it, a smart investment means seeing the whole picture. So we will absolutely cover the risks and give you our final analysis. All right, let's get right into it.
Okay, first up, the new drone wars. We are literally watching the birth of a sector that seems uniquely protected from economic downturns. And you might be asking why. Well, it's pretty simple. Unlike consumer spending, which, shrinks during a recession, spending on defense and national security, that often goes up in times of uncertainty. And let's be honest, right now, the world is absolutely brimming with uncertainty.
Now this timeline, it really lays out the escalating chain of events. It all really kicked off with the war in Ukraine, where we all watched, in real time, as drones completely rewrote the rules of the battlefield. Then, in 2025, you had a string of shorter regional conflicts that just hammered the point home. Drones are a low-cost, incredibly high-impact weapon. And looking ahead, the 2026 U.S. National Defense Authorization Act is already signaling a huge acceleration in demand for autonomous systems, especially with tensions rising around Taiwan. And maybe the most chilling part of all this, security experts are now predicting that drone attacks could actually happen on U.S. soil as early as 2026. This isn't some cyclical trend, folks. This is a deep, structural, global shift in security priorities.
And this chart right here brilliantly illustrates the financial impact of all that. I mean, think about it. If drones are the new offense, then counter-drones or CUAV systems are the new defense. And just look at this growth. The market is projected to literally explode from $2.4 billion in 2024 to $10.5 billion by 2027. That is a staggering four-fold increase in just 3 years, and it's driven directly by the threats we just talked about. So with this massive market taking shape, let's go meet the company at the very center of our story.
And that brings us to Ondas Holdings, a company that has gone through a massive transformation to meet this new global demand. You see, they didn't start here. They started out in industrial wireless networks for things like railroads and utilities. But through some really smart strategic acquisitions, they have completely remade themselves into what we call a full-stack autonomous systems leader. And what that means is they control the hardware, the software, and the network that ties it all together.
So let's look at their key products. First, you've got the Optimus System. This thing is the definition of autonomous security. It's literally a drone in a box. These drones live inside these robotic hangars, which act as their home base. From there, they can automatically launch missions, conduct surveillance, fly back, swap their own batteries, and even integrate different payloads, like cameras or sensors. Just think about the applications for a second. 24/7 automated border patrols, constant monitoring of a nuclear power plant, or securing a massive data center, all without a single human pilot on site.
And then you've got the other side of the coin, the Iron Drone. This is their counter-UAS solution. So if the Optimus drone is the eye in the sky, the Iron Drone is the shield. It uses AI to automatically detect and then neutralize aerial threats. And given the geopolitical climate we just laid out, the demand for this kind of technology is just surging, and Ondas has already locked in millions in defense orders for this exact system. But here's what makes the Ondas story so powerful, in my opinion. This technology isn't just for the battlefield. No, they are pushing hard into the commercial world. They're effectively trying to automate the entire security guard industry. Every single piece of critical infrastructure, we're talking airports, seaports, stadiums, energy facilities, is a potential customer. There are over 5,000 of these sites globally that are just ripe for this kind of technology. And this diversification is absolutely crucial. It means Ondas isn't just relying on government military budgets, they're tapping into a massive commercial market with the very same core systems.
Okay, a great story is one thing, but you and I both know the numbers have to back it up.
So let's peel back the layers and look at the financial momentum that has Wall Street paying very, very close attention.
It all starts with this one absolutely mind-blowing figure. In the third quarter of 2025, Ondas reported year-over-year revenue growth of 582%. Let me just say that again, 582%. That is not a typo. This isn't some small incremental gain. This is the kind of explosive, hyper-growth number that tells you a company is hitting a major inflection point in its business.
All right, now this table here really tells the whole story, so let's walk through it. As of late January 2026, the stock's sitting around $12 a share, which gives it a market cap of about $1.5 billion. But look at this revenue trajectory. For 2025, they were on track for somewhere between $36 and $48 million in revenue. Okay, for 2026, the estimate is a massive leap to $170 to $180 million. That's a potential 5x jump in revenue in a single year. Now, it is absolutely crucial to look at the bottom line. They are not profitable yet, with a net loss of almost $9 million in Q3. This is a classic growth story. You're betting on massive future profitability. And it looks like analysts agree, with a consensus strong buy and an average price target of $19.
And the feeling among retail investors is just as bullish, if not more so. We're seeing commentary like this all over social media, with investors talking about a monopoly-like position in autonomous systems for the lower skies. This is the kind of narrative that turns a regular stock into a story stock, where the future potential really captivates the market's imagination, sometimes even more than the current numbers do.
So, that brings us to the big question, the $10 billion question. Can Ondas really be a 10x investment from here? You know, a 10-bagger is the dream for any growth investor. So let's lay out the actual, tangible path for how Ondas could get from a $1.5 billion company to a $15 billion behemoth.
So the whole argument for a tenfold return really rests on these 5 key pillars. First, the growth trajectory. The belief is that the company can maintain a 70% plus compound annual growth rate and hit $1 billion in revenue by 2030. Second, its competitive moats. Ondas has this unique system of systems. They integrate air drones, ground robots, and the wireless network that connects it all. That is really hard to replicate. Third, they have a stable, recurring revenue stream from their older rail business, which gives them a solid foundation. Fourth, the capital edge. They recently raised nearly $1 billion, giving them a huge war chest to fund acquisitions and scale up. And finally, market validation. The stock surged 1,600% from its lows in 2025. The market is already voting with its wallets that something big is happening here.
And this slide right here, this brilliantly illustrates what that bull case really means in practice. If Ondas actually achieves that goal of $1 billion in revenue by 2030, and the market gives it a growth multiple of just 10 times sales, which is pretty reasonable for a company in this sector growing this fast, that gets you to a $10 to $15 billion market cap from today's $1.5 billion. That points to a share price of around $120. That, right there, is the path to 10x. It's ambitious for sure, but it's built on a logical foundation of growth and what's happening in the market.
But before we get carried away and start dreaming, we have to look at the other side of the coin. No high-growth investment comes without significant risk, and a balanced perspective is absolutely essential.
And here you see it, the bull and bear cases right next to each other. On one hand, you've got explosive growth, unstoppable geopolitical tailwinds, a strong balance sheet. It's a powerful combination. But on the other hand, the bear case is just as real. You've got shareholder dilution from raising all that money, high customer concentration, and the immense execution risk of trying to scale this quickly while you're still not profitable.
Let's just zero in on these risks for a moment because they are serious. Shareholder dilution, that's a real cost to you as an investor. The fact that 90% of revenue in a recent quarter came from a single customer, that is a major red flag. If that customer walks, the revenue collapses. Integrating all these new companies they've bought is a huge management challenge. And the path to profitability, it's not guaranteed. It's going to require flawless execution. And finally, you better have the stomach for volatility, because this is not a stock that is going to move in a nice straight line. So, what's the final verdict? Well, first, our mandatory disclaimer. This is not financial or tax advice. This deep dive is for educational purposes only, and you must always do your own research. That said, the story here is undeniably compelling. Ondas seems perfectly positioned to capitalize on one of the most powerful trends of our lifetime. For investors who are comfortable with risk and understand the potential pitfalls, that 5 to 10x potential by 2030, well, it seems backed up by the macro drivers. However, the risks are significant. This suggests that for anyone who is interested, sizing your position small and being prepared for a very bumpy ride is probably the prudent approach.
So that leaves us with the final question. The sovereign drone wars are not some future prediction. They are here, right now. The technology is real, and the demand is exploding. So is ONDS your ticket to ride this unstoppable trend? Or are the execution risks and the unprofitability just too high a price to pay? I would love to know what you think in the comments below. Please subscribe, like, and share ValueVest Daily for daily learning opportunities before you put your money to work. And one more thing, please put in a comment if you want us to deep dive into any specific high-risk/reward opportunities.